AI is going to change, like the way it's done coding, it's going to change engineering. It already is. And this is one of those examples. And it's awesome because it opens up the ability to engineer more things.
Welcome to the Business Growth Masterclass, where business growth is made simple. I'm your host, Albert Gillespie.
And I'm your co-host, Kellen Ketchersid. Join us as we bring you stories from business leaders so you can learn from their wins, their losses, and everything in between.
All right. Today's guest is the Director of Power Delivery and co-owner of Western Frontier Engineering. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Brandon Campbell.
Thank you, Albert. It's a pleasure to be here.
I mean, you have a voice of an angel. I feel like I'm talking to Mike Rowe already.
Well, don't blow my head up too big.
Okay, I'm like 30 seconds before I clicked record, you let it slip that you've done voice acting.
I did.
And have some audiobooks. Okay, give me the 30 seconds. What?
I probably did 65 projects, freelance through Fiverr, commercials, promos, technical, trainings. And then recently I did 3 audiobooks that are still on Audible. I Kill Killers, We Kill Killers, and They Kill Killers. So
okay,
if you like murder mystery, I'm about half of it. They had a female narrator and then me. So the first book is hard. I learned a lot. The third one I got pretty good. But the first one I can't even go back and listen to it. So this is not a promotion to go listen to that.
Dude.
Yeah. That
is awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, I have poked at you in our mastermind group of, man, you have a great radio voice, but come to find out you've used it.
I did. I found that out at Chicken Express. They put me on the drive-thru a lot. And so I would even throw out random accents. People had no idea. They'd come around, like, why is an Australian person working at Chicken Express on 82nd Street? That's where I found out my talent.
Chicken E, man, it's been a minute. I could eat one of those. I could eat 5 of those biscuits right now.
I had the worst acne of any high schooler, I think, because I ate there breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Intro.
Okay.
Director of Power Delivery. Okay. What does that mean? What is Western Frontier Engineering? What do you guys do? Give me the background there.
Yeah. So Western Frontier Engineering does a few things. The main thing, we've got 2 companies. So Western Frontier Engineering and then Active Designs. So WFE, basically, we stay in the power delivery industry. So power lines and substations. That's kind of what we focus on.
Okay.
And right now we've got 5 folks, about to be 5 folks, consulting for construction activities for Encore Electric. So they're the largest electric utility in Texas. They cover the northern half of the state. And we come in and basically look, it's a new group internally. So we staff their internal group with construction consultants. So anytime a project 69,000 volts or higher is approved, we come in and say, okay, how do all of these projects get sequenced? How do you do them all by the drop dead date in 2032? There may be 10 projects. And so we've got folks that are basically trying to plan that out for the grid. And so I'm specifically actually I'm billable too. So I'm the owner, but I got to keep a timesheet as well. And so I'm personally working on the 765 kV build out. And what that is.
What is that? Yeah. What does that mean? That was a lot of
I know.
Letters, numbers.
Okay, I'm going to try it. Yeah. So there are voltage levels to the electric infrastructure across the country. In Texas specifically, 345,000 volts was the highest rating that they would transfer power across power lines. So think big towers and big poles, big substations. 345 kV was the biggest, and there's 500 kV, but not in Texas. And Texas recently approved 765,000 volt infrastructure.
Okay. Is that all like data center?
It is. There's a lot of drivers. A lot of it is data centers and oil and gas. So this is kind of interesting. There used to be peak demand in a day. So everybody would turn on their lights, people would go to work, businesses would start up. And so your peak demand in a day would be during the daylight. Now, data centers and oil and gas, they don't slow down. They don't stop. They run 24/7, especially data centers. They're just energy suckers, right? And all of that is coming into West Texas where land is cheap. Well, your reliable generation is all in East Texas. So you have wind and solar in West Texas, which is great. And that combined makes up about 40% of the power generation in Texas currently. Solar and wind are great until it turns nighttime. Wind dies, obviously sun goes away. So now you've got all this demand that's still running, but you've got to get power from East Texas or South Texas. And ERCOT is operated only in Texas. So we draw some power from other states, but pretty much self-sufficient within Texas. We got to move that power fast. And so higher voltages help you to do that more efficiently. You have less losses.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
We're working on an Encore project out in Lufkin right now that I'm curious. Well, we'll talk about that after this, but man, what a small world. Okay. So paraphrasing what you said, you guys are basically a third subcontractor for Encore to design and plan their infrastructure projects.
Absolutely.
Okay. I know you started Western Frontier in the last couple of years.
September of 2024 is when me and my business partner started working together. And then January of 25 is when Western Frontier was formed officially.
Okay. It's new. It's a baby. And you're doing these large projects, these large scale projects for a big company like Encore. How did you get your foot in the door? Like how did that happen? Like that's not a normal, startup. All right, we're doing these giant jobs across Texas. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's ultimately a God thing. And it wasn't, so I've tried to start a company before and really wanted it to be successful. This was several years ago. It was a steel frame decking company and basically tanked it within 3 months and got our family into a lot of debt. Barely got our way out of it. And I've always known that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was always something that was interesting to me. I had a lawn mowing business with my brother in high school, and just those kind of things always interested me. And I'm not really smart enough to be a great engineer. So I was like, well, that'll be a good foot in the door to do what I'd like to do. And I have an MBA. So, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll kind of go the business route. There's no class you can take. There's not enough schooling that you can do to prepare you for business ownership. And so I was a little bit scared getting back into it. I wasn't looking to start my own business this last round. It's actually my business partner who ironically was a potential client from another venture that I tried. And he just reached out to me after a couple of years of not even hearing from him, needing a professional engineer to stamp some drawings. And so after that, the rest is history. We've talked almost every day on the phone. He's in Denver. I've only seen him four times in person total. And yet we're successfully running. Now we're on track for $1 million in 12 months in gross revenue. So it's unreal. We have had some crazy ups and downs. And your question was, sorry, I may have gotten off.
Yeah, it was like, how did you get started with, a big vendor like Encore, less than 24 months into business? How do you do that?
Okay. So yeah, quick backstory of one of those roller coaster moments that nearly tanked everything we were doing. I started my career at Encore. So I have a lot of connections there.
Okay.
So I spent the first 5 years of my career designing transmission power lines on the engineering side. So I had a bunch of connections, but had always been chasing Encore contracts ever since with other firms that I worked for and was never able to get anywhere. Funny enough, I was working at a consulting firm last year, like up until last September. Was kind of doing business development for them in the south part of the country. And a random friend of mine called and said, Encore is starting this new group and we need somebody to help us lead that effort. And you're the only person we know who could even do it. And if you can't, we're not even going to accept the contract. And so they only employed 1099. And so I was like, wow, that's great. We've already got Western Frontier started. We're doing screened in pool cage in structural engineering in Florida. And so that's a whole nother story. I'm not even going to get into that, but that's kind of what Active Designs does now. So we were kind of a business, but nothing that I could quit my day job for until this came up. And I was like, okay, I'm going to leave the firm that I was at. I'm going to go subcontract for them under Western Frontier. About 2 months into that, I started hiring people. I had two folks that I wanted to hire, and they were vetted by Encore. Encore has to say yes to anybody that we bring to the table that we want to, contract out to them. They'd said yes, and then the contractor that we worked for basically got scared. They didn't want me hiring anybody, even though it's what we had talked about from the very beginning. I'm not a one-person machine. I'm a company. I'm looking out for my business. I'm going to support you guys, complete the scope, all of that stuff. And the contract that I had signed with them was very much do it however you want, complete the scope however you see fit, and we're going to stay out of it, including hiring employees. Well, anyway, liability or something, they got scared. And so they pulled out of everything. So the contractor we were working for said, we don't want to do this anymore, pulled out of Encore altogether on that side, and basically left me and these two other guys that had already quit their jobs and were training at Encore without a way to get paid. All three of us, our families, that I had just uprooted two folks, basically from their current gigs to come join me, say, hey, trust me, we're small, we don't have much going on, but this could be big. We don't have any way to get paid. I'm just one of the lowest spots, I think, of this whole journey so far. Obviously, like it's all ending right here. It just started. It's all ending already. The director at Encore of the group reached out and said, I need to make a decision over the weekend if we're going to give you guys the direct contract, which is absurd because you can't even get in the running to become a contractor at Encore unless you have 3 years of financials and 3 years of safety records. We hadn't been around for a year total. So within 3 weeks, we got the contract, and then it was trying to figure out how to float payroll, net 30, terms, conditions, insurance. We have $11 million in insurance. It's insane. They didn't even think we could get that, and I didn't think we could get it either. Shout out to my buddy, Evan McCullough, business owner that I'm trying to get to join y'all's business cohort. But yeah, just a God thing. I mean, it looked so grim and bleak and basically like, okay, well, this is over. Now I need to go back and find a day job to, here we are, grossing $1 million within 6 months of operation.
Yeah, it's never how you envision it. It's never like this straight line up and to the right. It's always, there are ups and downs, peaks and valleys. There's, moments where you're like, man, we've made it. We're going to do that. We're going to do all these things and the sky's the limit. And, the next day it's the rugs yanked out from underneath you. And you're like, oh my goodness, how are we going to make it? And it's not for everybody.
No.
But I think that, you build these muscles that, your security gland or whatever, where like you get reps in the peaks and valleys and you kind of learn not to, maybe some people are just wired this way, but you in entrepreneurship, you kind of learn it. You don't get too high and you don't get too low.
That's exactly
right.
You
just continue to be a good steward of the circumstance you have when you have it. And you try to be as thoughtful and strategic as you can. The part of your story where you're like burning the boats, you quit your day job to go do this thing. And so are you a civil engineer by trade? What's your
mechanical with a petroleum minor?
Okay.
Doing civil work for the electric company.
There it is.
Master of none. I'll say that much.
Yeah. That was a word salad. Mechanical with a petroleum minor doing utility
civil work for the electric company.
There it is.
Electricity was the last thing I wanted to ever do, ironically.
Yeah. and what kind of current events, topical. I'd love kind of your thoughts on this. We've touched this a little bit. There is in the last handful of years, Lubbock, West Texas, we joined ERCOT. And so that completely changed, utilities in Lubbock.
That was my last project at Encore.
Really?
The LP&L ERCOT integration program. I co-managed that whole infrastructure project.
So you were, I'll let people know where to find you, and they'll bring the picket signs.
Oh,
Anyway,
some of those towers are ugly for sure.
a big project that really changes West Texas quite a bit. You know, prior to that, we had this big, Texas Goliath, or whatever the storm was. There was a big winter storm that knocked out power like crazy, and Texas made the national news for not good reasons.
Mhm.
And right now, we have a lot of these data center projects that
Mhm.
are, our country wants to do for national security reasons, for economic reasons, for all kinds of reasons under the sun. And then here you are in the middle of that trying to, figure out how are we going to accommodate this. And so, the biggest, I'm trying to get to where the question is, but the biggest need right now is water and energy
Mhm.
for these, and water separate. But talk a little bit about what is the capacity, what does the public need to, how would we process all of these data center projects that are being proposed? And I know there's all kinds of variations under the sun, from a some giant $1 billion deal to a smaller 40 50 kilowatt deal. As a layman, you know, is that something we need to be worried about, or how thoughtful are these designs, for the greater public?
Yeah, I mean, data centers are coming. There's no stopping it, and it started with Bitcoin mining, and that they're transferring a lot of those to just AI computer databases essentially, and they're just a bunch of computers that are running algorithms and calculations 24/7. And with the way that the world is going, that's not going to slow down. In fact, I'm pretty sure, and I'm 90% sure this is accurate. Encore is only accepting 10% of the data center requests that are being made. That's as much as they can put on the grid, because, and it's not even it's not a power generation problem necessarily. It's just getting the power around to the loads from those generators. So it's actually the power lines and the substations that don't have enough capacity to move the power, like I was talking about earlier. That's where 765 kV is going to help out a lot. For the public, I mean, the price of electricity is probably going to go up. Everybody's going to have to share in that cost, which is a little frustrating. And a lot of data centers get a lot of tax breaks, and a lot of electric service providers provide them really low rates, lower than what a resident will pay. And so the consumers around have to foot that bill to a point. So I think it's just get ready. I know Ryan talked about the water consumption and how there's some reusable water cooling efforts being made. That's his department. I don't know about that, but it's coming. There's just going to be, as far as the demand in Texas alone has increased 23% since 2021 in Texas alone. They're projecting in 2026 for it to increase another 14% in 1 year. So there's going to be a lot more power lines getting built, a lot of substations getting upgraded. I think for the everyday person, you're not going to notice anything. But if you like ChatGPT or Claude, then this is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of different things there. And we talked about this in the podcast that dropped today, just about how AI is changing everything. That, if you've been on OpenClaw or Claude or any of that in the last few months, like it's not going away.
No.
Like the amount of work, the amount of productivity that one individual can have if they integrate that with what they do in an intelligent way is, they can do the work of 20 people.
That's exactly right.
And so that, how our economy works, it's based on productivity. And so this AI tool that is coming more and more to the market is something that is going to dramatically affect productivity. And if we don't do it, China will.
That's
And
exactly right.
and they don't necessarily want the best for us. And so there's that. Okay. Energy, you were talking about, the power lines and this and that. And so as far as like generation of electricity, What are those conversations like? What does that look like in the next 5 years in Texas? Is it nuclear power? Is it natural gas? Is it, you know, solar? Like what do those conversations look like?
It's interesting. Without government subsidies, a lot of the renewables are hard to make work. In fact, a lot of
The math doesn't
the
math.
math doesn't math. And there's a lot of renewable infrastructure that once it starts breaking down, it's too expensive to maintain, and so it just gets taken down, and it's a terrible thing for the environment, ironically enough. And we've gotten rid of a lot of the fossil fuel generation, which is reliable, and so that's been some of the causes of the power outages. Was kind of a shift in dynamic of generation. So solar and wind aren't going anywhere. And again, they make up 40% of Texas's current generation.
40%.
37% is natural gas. Storage is a big thing that's coming on. So battery energy storage sites are these ginormous batteries, these 9 to 10 megawatt sites that they're projecting to double in capacity in the next 12 months. So that's going to be, battery storage is going to be a huge factor. And it's only a matter of time before the battery technology kind of catches up, I think. That will help store power, keep it in certain areas so that you don't have the bottleneck of transferring that power as it's needed, right? Right now, you're using the power in Abilene that you might be generating in Weatherford almost instantaneously. The second that you jump up the demand, they're producing more power to meet that demand right now. Batteries obviously allow you to dispense that energy when you need it. And so on a utility scale, the battery thing is going to be it's going to be a huge factor in helping to curve some of these peaks. But nuclear, I think I'm a big fan of nuclear personally, since it's gotten a lot safer. Your bang for your buck, the efficiency is unreal. The amount of power that you need output as opposed to what you're putting in is incomparable to anything else that we're currently seeing. So I would love to see more nuclear. I don't know if it's going to happen, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Fascinating. Yeah, we have some friends that do uranium mining, and that has like really come back in the last 18 months, especially when you've got like, you know, Bill Gates firing up 3 Mile Island. You've got Bezos building his own nuclear power plant. You know, it's kind of all over the gamut. And that's fascinating. And you might have an interesting perspective on this. And I'm curious your perspective. I know I'm really just going down the data center rabbit hole.
I'm here for it.
I'm fascinated. The executive order from Trump to encourage that these data centers create their own energy. What have you seen practically proposed in the last 6 months, and is that real? Is that possible? Like,
absolutely. Yeah, it is possible, and it's in the form of solar farms and battery storage sites. For you to do behind the meter kind of generation, it's absolutely possible, especially where these data centers are going in, which is, I mean, it's regionally based, right? There's some that are going in the middle of Dallas, so you don't have a whole lot of real estate to put in an entire solar farm. But you talk about West Texas, well, just take the 50 acres behind you and go ahead and put a bunch of solar panels on it. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. It doesn't negate the fact that you're going to still need supplementary power from the grid. You know, they're still going to connect and need it at nighttime. You know, you're not creating any solar at night. So there's that. Yeah, it's definitely possible. There's diesel generators and stuff too, but the amount of power that data centers require, though, as far as being fully 100% self-sufficient from an electrical standpoint, you're always going to have grid support.
Yeah.
So,
I am fascinated by that. And, you know, with my rose-colored glasses, I'm like, you know, you talked about the renewables and how without government incentives, the math doesn't math. That I'm like, okay, if these multi-billion-dollar, you know, data center developers are spending their money because it makes business sense for their data center, then you're kind of, you're building some infrastructure, some redundancy in infrastructure in an economically sensible way. Anyway, I'm
It's great. It would be great for the data centers to help offset the power that they're drawing. Absolutely. So I love the idea of it, especially being an engineer in that industry. I mean, we're actually pricing a 400 megawatt solar site and battery storage site. I think I can't remember how many thousands of acres. It's down near McCamey, south of Midland, Odessa. And so you see all of these utility scale solar farms coming up. But if a data center is able to concentrate that generation to where the load is, again, that helps the bottleneck. You can think of a highway. That's what the power lines are, moving power back and forth. Well, when the demand is high, you're at a gridlock. And you get high enough, those lines are going to burn. And you're going to have to, that's what rolling blackouts are. They get too hot, so the equipment has to shut those off to cool them down. Well, now where's that power that was going here coming from? Well, now it's coming from all the other power lines. And so they got to shut those down. That's what a rolling blackout is basically to keep everything from turning off altogether. So if the data centers supplied their own power, that would help with that for sure.
Fascinating. Okay. I'm over my skis. Okay. You talk about employees. So you are a third-party contractor. So you're 1099 for Encore doing, engineering work. Are all of your employees W-2? Are they 1099? How do you handle that? Because at this point, like what does Western Frontier look like right now? Like how many guys do you have working for you, or guys, gals, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So we have 3, let's see, let me think about this. We're about to hire our 3rd W-2, not including me and Andres, obviously my business partner. Then we have a 1099 who he owns his own company as well and is actually subcontracting work back to us. So that's been a great partnership. But he's one of our field guys. He's out of Midland, Odessa, so he's on the road all the time. But he's 1099. That made more sense. And you do have to structure things differently, right? So he doesn't have a Western Frontier email address, and how we pay him is different. How he handles his own insurance, right? Like I want to be very careful not to cross the bridge of 1099ing everybody when they should be W-2, and I don't want to get audited later. So it's a great question. We have a drafter in Bolivia, of all places, in South America. And so trying to figure out, okay, he's got to sign a W-68BN form to say that he's not a U.S. citizen. Yeah, so we're kind of covering the gamut of the different ways to employ people. But our executive assistant, she's in Fort Myers, Florida, and is a friend of Andres. So and she's handling all of our billing and stuff, and she's on the East Coast. We're representing 3 different time zones. We're a 5-6 person company. And going back to the AI stuff, you cannot start a company without using AI. If you want to do it smartly, you have to incorporate AI to some degree. And maybe not if you're owning a cafe or something, right? Maybe there's tools out there that utilize AI, but you have got to get on board with the change. It's like when the internet was starting to come out. If you could see that the internet was coming about, it was scary because there were going to be a lot of jobs that were taken away. In the same vein, it opens up a lot of opportunities that weren't possible before the internet. And I see it the same way with AI. And in fact, case in point, we just proposed a pilot project in New Jersey yesterday to, all right, I'm going to try to say this quickly and not too technically. So on the distribution side, lower voltage, still power lines, those have never really been engineered. There's just too many poles. So for transmission power lines, the larger voltage, they span longer. So those big towers, you have less structures per mile. Distribution, you have 10 times, 8 times as many poles. So there's just too much infrastructure to engineer. You can't go to each structure and say like, okay, let's run some calculations. Let's see what the wind forces are, snow, ice loads. How is this going to react in real world? You kind of just got to assume it's going to be okay. Like, what is that a good enough structure? Is that a large enough wood pole? Stick it in the ground, hang the wire, and move on. Now, wildfire mitigation and system resiliency is starting to become a bigger deal. And so we are hopefully going to win a 167,000 pole project in New Jersey for First Energy using AI, using a tool. So we're partnering up with a company called Nira. They are huge in Australia. They're big in the UK, and they're growing in the US. They've only been around 7 years, but they're essentially in every utility in Australia. They're making a big push in America. And what they do is they utilize AI to classify LiDAR data. So we contracted a helicopter company to go fly. The pilot project's only 45 miles to go fly and capture a 3D representation of everything that's out there. And so Nira brings that data in and says that point's a tree, that point's a car, that point is representative of a pole or a wire, and basically make a digital twin of your entire grid. That's never been possible before. You've engineered transmission power lines before in a similar software, but never using AI. And Nira is the only company using AI, and they're winning some large projects. Encore, they've already performed pole loading analyses, finite element analysis, engineering on 1 million poles of Encore system within the first year. Never before possible. And it's only available because of AI. And so now we're looking at it, and we're a young company. We don't have resources. We can't compete with the other engineering firms who have thousands of designers. And their business model doesn't fit with AI. They don't really like the AI thing because they want billable engineers. They want a bunch of hours for their people to work so that they can rack up the bill to the utility. Efficiencies don't help them in that way. So we're only the second engineering firm that I know of that are partnering with Nira to basically be kind of this go-between for the AI software package that they provide and the utility who doesn't want to learn how to use the software. We're kind of the go-between. And yeah, we're not going to be able to bill 1 million hours of design time because the software does so much of it automatically. And the reports that it produces is just, it's astounding what it can show in a short amount of time that would take another company 4 years to produce.
Dude, this is the
It's nerdy.
No, this is AI as a tool. It's not good, it's not bad. It is just a tool. And podcast has dropped today. We said some similar things, but it's the car. It's the invention of the car.
Right.
Whenever we were used to a horse and buggy, and the businesses you're describing, they have fleets of horses and buggies, and now there's a car or an 18-wheeler.
That's exactly right.
That can haul so much more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is, right now is a unique point in time where it's coming on board. It's AI is available to the masses, and those that engage in it are going to leave the competition behind. And you have these large engineering firms that are these, thousands of employees that, what does AI mean? What does that mean for all of these jobs? There's so much uncertainty there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's going to do away with everyone's job. Those that can use it are going to be more productive and can do more work. But these big companies, these big bureaucratic companies, they can't be nimble like you can. They can't pivot like you can. And so right now is a unique point in time where the small business owners can compete with the giants.
That's exactly right.
If they engage with AI and figure out how to use it, what's the best way for my business, what we do, how can we use this to our advantage to 10x what we do? And so my question here is, you made that leap, right? You've been a traditional engineer your entire career, and you made that leap. How did you go about figuring out what's the best application, and how did you take that step to partner with Nira?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me that story. How did you make the leap?
Ironically, so Aquawolf was the firm that I was at before.
That's a name.
It's a name, and it doesn't have a cool story behind it. It was just unique, and it wasn't taken. So they jumped on that name. Yeah, that was the firm that I was with before. They met with Nira when Nira first started coming into the States, and I was on that meeting and thinking, holy cow, this is opening up an entire new realm. And even Aquawolf didn't want to bite on it because it was going to change. They already had 75 engineers. Like the way that you use Nira for an engineering firm doesn't make sense. The software package more supports the utility. So you just have to be flexible. So I saw the opportunity and I saw where the world of design was going. AI is going to change, like the way it's done coding, it's going to change engineering. It already is. And this is one of those examples. And it's awesome because it opens up the ability to engineer more things. Again, you would have not been able to propose to a utility who's trying to save money, who's always looking at costs, to go model 167,000 poles of distribution. It doesn't make sense. It takes too much time. It'd be billions. $1 billion of something like that 5 years ago, 3 years ago.
That's crazy.
Now it's possible. And so you've just got to see, and again, you don't see it right away, but just know that other doors are opening because of this. Yes, the doors are closing for some of those efficiencies that humans no longer will be able to make up. The efficiencies are kind of being taken away. But because those efficiencies where people start businesses and find ways to capitalize, those efficiencies are going away because of AI. But because there's less efficiency, that means there's more opportunity to do other things, bigger things, because of those efficiencies that you don't have to worry about anymore. And the Nira thing, again, it's all God. I started talking to Nira again 6 months ago. I was like, listen, I know you guys are doing something crazy. I've watched all your videos on YouTube. Nobody else seems to be understanding what impact y'all are going to make. The utilities were seeing it, but the EPC firms were not jumping on it. I'm like, why not? Well, it's because they don't need to. They've already got business models that are working. They can't transition. They're not nimble enough. So we're talking to them 6 months ago saying, what can we do? How can we get integrated with your software? And then Encore came about. And so we kind of backed away from Nira. And then a pole inspection company reached out. They flew in from Houston to meet with me a month ago here in Lubbock, Las Brisas. And I was like, this is crazy. It's just one of those moments of like, holy cow, you're coming to see me? What do I have to offer? Well, they're a pole inspection company. They don't want to do the engineering. So they need somebody to do the engineering. They want to do Nira. They don't know anybody who can do Nira. We're like, well, we don't really know how to do it, but we really want to figure it out. And so that's, again, it's just understanding things are changing. And it's a good thing. It's not going to be great for some people, but if they jump on and try to see the future for what it is, if it opens up a lot of opportunity for people who want to start a business, now they can, because you don't need an entire fleet of people. You don't need as many resources. I think I saw something where the first $1 billion company, single person was made by using just AI, and again, it's a scary thought. You can only trust AI so far too. We were using AI to do calculations and realized it was just pulling answers from before. It wasn't doing the actual calculations. And we were getting into some big trouble. We're like, whoa, let's back up. So you have to understand also the metes and bounds of AI's capabilities. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a tool.
Dang, that is like, this is such a unique time. Like literally like right now,
you're exactly right.
3 months ago, OpenClaw, whatever it's called now, like wasn't available to the public.
Right.
And now like people are creating these companies and I can think of, my dad's generation rolling their eyes like, okay, well, do these companies do anything? And in reality, it's a lot of these, administrative type, blue collar, not blue collar, more white, gray collar jobs that are these office jobs that it's coming for those right now.
Yep.
And if you don't lean into it, if you don't, play in the sandbox, experiment, iterate, go talk to people that are using it and learn from them. And, there's going to be a wave of consultants. There's not, and right now it's moving so fast and changing every single day that there's not like, you can't go learn this at a university right now. It's YouTube. It's talking to people that are actually using it. It's trying things, breaking things,
talking to AI about it.
Yeah. And you have to like continue to iterate and continue to play with it. And if you don't, you're going to look up 6 months from now and you're your business leads are going to be a lot less.
Mhm.
The, the future is going to be a lot more bleak. And I think of the industries that are insulated for now
Mhm.
are basically the trades and the frontline healthcare workers are kind of the safest
Yeah.
for now
Yeah.
until our Optimus robots, until I get my robot in my house.
No, you're exactly right.
But man, like, what a crazy example of a real world, real business application of using AI
Mm.
is like this crazy project that would have taken thousands of hours from engineers taking pictures and driving and flying and doing all of these things, that now we're using like LiDAR technology and AI to identify stuff better than the human eye can.
Mhm.
And golly, dude,
It's
that's
fun.
like, it's terrifying, but
It
exciting at the
is.
same time.
Yeah, driving around Austin to meet with Nira, and all the Wemu self-driving taxis are going around. I had to. I would. My jaw was to the ground. I was like, "This is. We're in that reality. I don't know if I like it, but they're everywhere.
They're
in
everywhere.
Austin. It's
They're,
like,
I
oh
mean,
my
they're
gosh.
not the most efficient. So if you're trying to get
Okay.
somewhere fast,
Okay.
you're going to take the scenic route. In every intersection, it's really thinking about it, which I guess I appreciate.
Yeah.
But okay, we're talking about future stuff right now.
Yeah.
Let me lean into a little more, kind of bring this home. I know you're early in Western Frontier. What do the next 5 years look like? If, the sky's the limit, what do you want it to look like 5 years from now?
I would say to anybody interested in starting a business, just a caveat into this: information has never been more accessible. Information was very accessible with the internet. It pales in comparison with what AI can do for you now. You can ask a question, you can learn. We have learned as an engineering firm. I don't even want to say how much we have learned on the job through AI. You can't trust it completely, but you can be more flexible now and take on other projects and learn and just be flexible. You're going to fail at something. That's what I've learned is inevitable in anything, but especially business, is you're going to fail. And it's about how you get back up. It's those muscles that you talked about growing stronger, right? It's how you bounce back up and not being too excited either, right? There's a lot. We're looking at 5 or 6 different opportunities right now, all of which could be very exciting. But at the same time, the rug could get pulled out at any point from any direction. And so having a level head, not acting too rationally, preparing, but also not waiting for the perfect moment to do something. And I think we're trying to find that balance of taking risks and figuring out we're not locked into doing one thing. Like we're literally designing swimming pool mesh cages on the East Coast and construction activities for power lines and substations. And I understand that any of those could go away at any point. What is unique now, there's 2 things. It's the AI incorporation. There's also opportunities for anybody listening you can patent tools that AI makes. And so we've developed a tool that we were just using for our day-to-day operation to help schedule these projects. You give it a bunch of parameters and it goes in and it sequences them, and then you can shift them around, and nothing else exists like that. Or if you get Primavera P6, the project management software, you're spending tens of thousands of dollars a year. And so we just developed on Claude an entire web-based tool that we could literally go and patent with some steps and red tape that I don't understand. But if we wanted to, we could go patent that tool and sell that to other utilities and say, we don't have to do anything, but here's a tool that we can license to you now that we didn't spend any time coding. We just told it what we wanted. I want a button here. I want a slider here. I want you to do calculation. I want you to only reference this material. Don't make anything up. Keep it all right here. Use the tool to build this entire web-based software, essentially, links and everything, and you can just put it into your web browser and start using it. You can patent that stuff. Those are the efficiencies that open up doors that weren't possible. If I wanted to try to do that with coders today and my limited knowledge of coding, the time it would take to convey what I'm trying to convey to a coder, for them to go do it, the back and forth, the iteration, it would have taken too much time. It wouldn't have been feasible. now it's possible for anybody in any realm to just go and create tools and find those efficiencies that you can shorten the gap without having to spend a whole lot of time. Use the AI as a tool. So our 5 years is going to be figuring that out. Where are those niches that maybe we don't need to hire 10, 15, 100 people in a 12-month span? Where can we offer value utilizing the tools around us? And again, you have to have industry knowledge. You don't want to just go into something. My whole career has been around power delivery, so that's where I'm comfortable. Andres is a solar structural guy, so he's comfortable in his realm. And having people that understand that and can speak the language, that's invaluable. AI can't make that up. Now, you can grow your knowledge base because of AI. You can learn stuff so fast, but we're going to be tactful. The nearest stuff, I would love, if that's the only thing we did for the rest of the 5 years, I would be totally happy. They are not, this is the exciting part. Nira is not even, they're having to choke back their sales because they've already gotten 10 to 12 major utilities around the country that want their software. They just don't have the bandwidth to set up the models. And so we're going to come in and try to help them do that. We're just going to latch onto them and ride the wave if we can.
Dude, the AI, hand is just slapping me left and right every week. That's so cool to hear like a practical, real life story, of a small company that's like, you're competing.
Trying.
That's exciting. Okay. If there's any utility companies listening to this, where do I need to send them? How do people do business with you?
Well, I need to get the website up. That's,
Come on, Claude.
We have a LinkedIn page that doesn't have anything on it. Just my email address, brandon@western-frontier.com. But yeah, and again, it's networking. It's don't burn any bridges as a business owner. Be a good person.
Yep.
That is, and be trustworthy. Like nobody wants to deal with some jerk that's just trying to gain a buck or cut a corner.
Yep.
It's all about relationships. And that's literally been the culmination. And it takes time. Like the relationships that I've built are the reasons that we've got some opportunities. And those relationships took a decade to develop. But it's also because I just genuinely enjoy, I'm a people pleaser. So at a fault, like I'm going to try to make you happy and I don't want to burn any bridges naturally. But just know that the industries are smaller than you think. And you might come back around to somebody and they may have an opportunity to help you out or you them. I mean, it's who you know in a lot of realms. Yeah, but have the utilities reach out to me if they're interested.
All right.
I don't know. I'm not expecting any new emails, but
fair. Well, man, thank you so much. That was
absolutely
completely unexpected, and that was a lot of fun.
Man, I had a blast.
Thanks
for having me on, Albert.
All right. If you are a business owner and you feel stuck in your business, you feel that your business has plateaued and you don't know how to get to the next level, go to our website, stagcoaching.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, click to book your free consultation. And in your free consultation, we'll give you the next few steps you need to take your business to the next level. It's free and it's on our website, stagcoaching.com. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.